Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live Chino's Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and most importantly, getting in the chat, letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about this most recent Arsenal transfer news. Like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Yes, let's get into it. Listen, we've got some news. We've got a little news. Okay, never mind. Not with the English accent. Let's be serious. But listen, we had kind of spoken about Eze last week. And that was off of the back of, the news that we had added him to the list of left wing. Rodrygo's still number one, but Eze had been added to the list. And I'm over the moon with that option. I love Eze, great player, totally an Arsenal player in my opinion. Feel good factor, flair, all those types of things, X factor, what's not to love, right? So today it's being reported by multiple sources, Hand of Arsenal, Fabrizio Romano, and several others, Ben Jacobs, Ed Aarons, blah, 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 that Eze or Arsenal have spoken to, they've basically opened talks with his camp to discuss a potential move. And this is ahead of speaking to Crystal Palace, but they know the deal conditions. And so they're going to that next step and talking to Eze. And according to Hand of Arsenal, he has said that Arteta was a part of those talks, so he's spoken to the player, all that kind of stuff. And so it's just got me in my feels. I've almost forgotten all about Rodrygo. If you want to be Lucas Vasquez, my friend, be Lucas Vasquez. Bring me Eze. Like, I don't give a fuck. But it's opened up a little bit of a discussion around, is he the right guy for left wing? Is he the wrong guy for left wing? There are a lot of Arsenal fans panicking about, where's he going to play? He's not really a natural left wing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, don't act like this is your first bad bee. It's like all these questions, all this angst, all this anxiety, bring the talent in and make it work. I just feel like we're not used to having good attackers. So there's all this, yeah, but the overlap, but MLS, he comes central and Eze comes central and that just won't do. Shh. Quiet. Be quiet. So we're going to kind of talk about that aspect of things because I do have a pretty strong take on it. And it's not just because I like the player. I just think as a rule of thumb, this is the way that top teams think about players. They don't think about the rigidity and, when they don't think about, oh, but, if you move this piece in the system and the overlap, put your spreadsheets down for 5 minutes and just think for 1 minute. So we have two left wings right now, Trossard and Martinelli. Would you guys say that those players are anything alike? The answer is no. I don't need to wait for your answer. Those two players are nothing alike at all. They are, you have Martinelli, who's more of like an inside forward, somebody that, is more of a straight line runner, a lot of pace, aggression, goal scorer, and then you have Trossard, who's more creative, somebody a little bit more of I would say he's more of like a central player playing out on the wing. He's not a touchline winger, but he has enough quality, enough technical quality to make it work, so neither of those two players play left wing the same. They both give different qualities, yet and still they both play left wing for Arsenal. And so this whole idea that a left winger is one type of player is, I don't know how we're getting to that example or we're getting to that conclusion when right now we have a midfielder playing at left back. We don't live in a world where there's one type of anything. You can have a false 9 or you can have a traditional number 9. You can have a creative player, almost like a number 10 on your wing, or a traditional 1v1 winger. We have Declan Rice playing left 8, so I don't really think that we're thinking about it from, I have a couple of reasons why I think people are thinking about it this way, but I think one of them is you know, they would rather him play midfield. I think people want an attacking mid, so seeing him as a left wing signing, they'd prefer him to just be the attacking mid signing. Now, we came into this window and attacking mid wasn't really on the table. It was more left wing striker, DM, defender, and number 2 goalkeeper. And so there's I don't know why anybody would think that we'd bring in a player like Eze and he would never touch midfield ever. Of course he would. Like, absolutely he would. It's not like we've never seen Trossard play midfield. We've seen Trossard play right wing, left wing, 9, and left center mid. So, of course, he would play those positions. It's almost like Arsenal would be replacing that Trossard profile. Somebody that can play 2 or 3 positions, but ultimately gives you creativity, gives you goal scoring, and gives you, versatility. And so if Arsenal cannot go out there and get the traditional 1v1 winger that would replace Martinelli, you go into the market and you find the best possible option, and that's probably a Trossard replacement. Trossard actually ended up at the club for a similar reason. Couldn't get Mudryk, who is more of a traditional winger. So instead of just going for nothing, we still try to improve the squad with a more versatile player. And we've seen that Arsenal have done that in the past. Eze is just 100 times version of that. And I personally prefer us to just bring in more talent than go down to another level of talent at left wing that doesn't make us any better. Getting a Semenyo, I know that some of you guys like Semenyo, but he's not even a guaranteed starter at Arsenal. He's not. I'm not sure that he's taking Martinelli's spot. He's definitely not taking Saka's spot. He's definitely not somebody that, is going to be the difference between us winning things or not. He is a good depth signing, but that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for level raisers, so if you're going to have to go down to Semenyos, you might as well go and look at Rodgers or Simmons or an Eze. And Eze is available. He's available. You can get him for the release clause, but broken down in installments. And he's just Eze. Why wouldn't you? He's 27, so he's looking to get that big move, and he's used to the Premier League, and he's not like diminutive or too small to deal with the physicality of the Prem, right? And so essentially what you're doing is just adding quality and versatility. That doesn't mean that you don't still need to bring in that left winger eventually or in this same window, but you're still making the squad better. And so I just don't look at this Eze signing as anything other than a net positive. Like, there's no negative to it. He can step in for Odegaard. He can step in for Declan Rice. He can play off of the left, like left wing. He can do all of those things. But the most important thing for Arsenal is it doesn't really matter what position it comes in. We have to get flair, X factor in this team. We need to get more technical quality in this team. And he adds that. So it really doesn't matter where we add it from. Left wing was the most obvious place to bring it in. He'll probably still play left wing, but you would still be able to add that in midfield. You'd be able to add that in the 10. What's the big deal? I'm trying to understand what the pushback is. What's the pushback? You're pretty much getting everything that you wanted. Obviously, he's not like, you'd still probably go out there and get somebody to replace Martinelli in the long term, but it's just better than doing nothing. It's better than going down to a Semenyo. It's better than, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting it. I'm over the fucking moon. We either get Rodrygo or we get Eze. What is the problem? So let's see. Just Eze done for preseason since he's available now. If we love Rodrygo, like reports suggest, should he leave, we should also go for him at the end of the window. I like that thought. Jackie says Arsenal have not opened talks with Eze. They've only inquired, no talks. If you're doing you're literally, they have open talks with Eze. They're talking to him and his team. So there are talks with Eze. What do you think they're doing? Are they communicating through, a little cup and a string? How do you think they're communicating? They're talking. What do you mean? Just ever since the Eze links dropped, Standards FC have now started to ask if he's really that good. They did the same with Zubamendi. I just feel there's a very disingenuous thing that happens whenever just the stream is delayed. hold on. Let's see. Um, hold on real quick. You guys are saying the stream is delayed. Give me 2 secs. Ugh. I'm just checking to see if the stream is actually delayed or not, if we're back, so give me 2 seconds. Okay, I'm moving. I think I'm okay. Um, but listen, I feel like what happens is we bitch about not getting these types of players, you know, we bitch about not getting these types of players, and then when we're linked to them and it looks like we're going to get them, all of a sudden Rodrygo is not very good. All of a sudden Eze's not really good. Are we sure that they're any good? Are we sure that they can do this and that? And I'm just like, why do we do this? Like, I don't really get it. You guys have been watching Eze for years. You know he's good. So I don't really understand what the problem is. Um, I really don't get it. So I just feel like we just have like this thing where nobody's good enough when we start talking to them, and it's just weird. Um, you said the stream is super glitchy. Okay, give me a second. 2 seconds. Let's go out. Yeah, it is slow. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Let me go out. Okay, let's see if you guys can see me now. I had to like start over and like restart my computer and stuff. So sorry it took long, but them's be the breaks. I know people are like, why don't you have good internet? I literally pay for like the most expensive fucking package. Um, so I've done all I can do. Like I have no like this, but you guys are saying I'm back, so let me just check myself. Oh, it looks much better now. Okay, cool. Hopefully nothing bad happens from here, but thanks for sticking around, guys. Really appreciate it. Because I was like, well, I'll just go live on my phone then, I guess, you know? Um, and then I was like, let me just check. I am using wired. I do use it wired and like it's plugged in straight into my computer and to the router. Um, and I spend like an extra like $50 on the most expensive um package you could possibly get. So I'm like, I don't really get it, but listen, we're back. So let's go ahead and get into it. But listen, I just think that why is it that as soon as we're linked to a really good player, um, um, you said, but it's watchable, just about. Why will as soon as we get linked to a player, they're not good enough. And we have all these kind of like issues with how they play or if they're gonna fit. And you guys said, you know, you guys want players um that have the thing. You know, you want players that have X factor and the ability to change a game on a dime and stuff like that. So do we actually want that? Or is it just, you know, we want to complain no matter what? And I'm all up complaining session, you know that, you know, I'm not above like being critical about the window. But if you had told me at the beginning of the window that we, you know, most likely, you know, get Sesko and get Eze, I'll be over the moon with that, you know. So I think that's a pretty good window, all things considered. One of the main issues on the right to me is we are so bad in 1v1 situations. Nelly and Trossard, does Eze help with that? One of the main issues on the right to me is we're so bad versus, you mean on the left? Um, let's see. Yeah, on the left. So I think so. You know, when I watch Eze's clips, like obviously these are his best like bits. So it does take out some of maybe like the not so great moments, but he tends to float into the left hand space and he has the ability to solve problems. And so I think the problem that we have with Martinelli is he doesn't have a lot of different tools. Like he's very much so when he's isolated in those left half spaces, he can't really beat his man. He can't go inside and outside. You know, he doesn't really have a creative bag, so he's not going to pick out a pass either. You know, so he can't come central. He just has like a very kind of straightforward way of doing things. And so when we're in a pickle and, you know, the spaces are more limited and we need a little bit more ingenuity, he doesn't have it. And Eze does have those things. Now, Trossard is just frustrating. We know that he's a good technical player and he has different things that he can do, go inside, go outside, beat his man, whatever. He's just inconsistent because he's trussy, you know, so and he's not at the level, you know, he is a squatty, you know, at the end of the day. So I think he does help with that. I think people are thinking too deeply into the position and not enough into where he's going to be playing. And he's not bad on the wing. I just think that, you know, at Crystal Palace, they play differently than us, but I'm looking for players that have the ability to solve problems in the left half space. And he definitely has that. Um, so yeah. Let's see. Um, I want Eze to replace Odegaard, and I'm good with that. He won't though. Like I think it's, you know, if you're holding your breath for our captain to get replaced by Eze, then you'll die of no oxygen. So I feel like Martinelli would be better as a wing back. Well, we don't play with wing backs, so the only thing Trossard has over Eze is his finishing. Other than that, Eze clears him. Eze on the left wing is going to be like Grealish, a 8-10 played out wide, who will cut in and try to create. We saw how that worked out for City. Eze likely to take space off Rice. I mean, just because Grealish hasn't taken off, you know, for City in that position, there are plenty of examples of number 10s playing off of the wing that is really successful. One of which actually happened at Arsenal, which was Emile Smith Rowe. The best he ever played at Arsenal was not in the 10, it was at left wing. So to me, it's just not that deep. I think I don't really get it. I don't really understand you're not a left wing, so you can't play there. Cole Palmer, I think, plays his best football out on the wing as well. And he's a number 10. Foden is not a winger. He plays on the wing. Bernardo Silva is not a winger. He plays on the wing. How many more examples do I need to give you? It's really not that deep. It's just, I think people want him to play in the 10. And so they're pretending he can't play on the wing because they're panicking about not being able to replace Odegaard, which you're not going to get that. So get over it. Or they just want to see him central because they don't want to see our midfield anymore. You're going to see him in the midfield. So stop fucking freaking out. Relax for 2 seconds. Arsenal are not going to bring in Eze, and he's never going to touch midfield. He's a versatile player who will most likely cover multiple positions. It's really not that hard to get. I don't get it. It's like Clemmy says, he can do both. I feel like people are just panicking for no reason. We need a clinical players on the left side, on the wing and midfield, and Eze can actually do both wings. And he can do so much, so I just see it as a slam dunk. I really just, this whole he's not a left wing feels very disingenuous. Just say what you really want to say. Yeah, but I'd rather him play in the midfield so he can take Odegaard's position. Just say what you really, I'd rather him play in the 10 so we can still get a left wing because I want more than one attacker outside of a striker. Just say what you really mean. Eze is not going to beat shit on the wing. Come on. Eze for 65 million is better than Rodrygo for 80 million. Facts. But I want both. And that's the thing is if you want both, just say that. Don't have to pretend like Eze is going to be shit on the wing because you want more than one player out there. That's a normal thing. Or, you don't like Odegaard anymore, so you want him to play in midfield. Just say that. It's like acting like he's going to be ass on the wing is just stupid. Just say what you really mean. It doesn't make sense. Of course he's going to be good on the wing. We're not like a typical team, I don't think, that can exist with different types of players on left wing because we actively do it now. We just need better players than what we got, Tashego says, I think it's more so who holds the width on the left because it ain't MLS. And if it is, then it's another player who's compromising their skill set for the system. I mean, what if, we are not so rigid with the system? I feel like the system. I'm like, I feel like less system, more technical quality and flair, and the players will figure it out. I think we're so beholden to the system because our players are not good enough. So the system is the only way that they'll be good, be able to, rise it, if as it were, so yeah, I think it's thinking way too much about the system and not enough about just getting good players in those positions, actively seeing City play Grealish on the left, Marmoush on the left. They play different players, even Doku on the left, and they're not talking about but the system. It's not like Ait Nuri is necessarily an overlapper, and neither is Gavardiol, but nobody's choking and spitting up blood because where's the overlap? It's just not that deep. Against teams like Leeds and Sunderland and West Ham, we can play Rice, Odie, Eze, which would open up that opportunity. I just think maybe we just haven't had the right type of number 10 that can withstand the physical side of the game. And also, because it always kind of felt like we were sacrificing something when you would play like Fabio Vieira or Emil Smith Rowe at left center mid with Odegaard and then a DM, something wasn't there. And maybe an Eze type of player that's more mature, that's physically up to the level, will make it not feel as though we're missing something when we're trying to be more creative, because it never felt like we were more creative. It just felt like we were different. And I'm not quite sure why that is. So maybe Eze being able to play that position will help. Eze is not good enough for us to the next level, which is winning EPL or UCL. That's news to me. Eze is amazing. He can give us what Desiree Doué gives PSG: unpredictability, trickery, flair, and confidence to penetrate low blocks. Let's see. His best use of talents is midfield, meaning Rice is taking away from CM. Use Eze for rotation and wing possibility, but sign Rodrygo as well. Rodrygo is key. Yeah, I just think people want more than one player, and so they're overthinking it. If we had come into this window and Eze was a number one target and not Rodrygo, and we knew we're getting a striker, I don't think people would feel that way. But now they just want Rodrygo and Eze. The likelihood of that, I feel like, is quite low. So yeah. Do you think Eze and Sesko win Arsenal the league? Honestly, I mean, I don't really want to get back into it because it got heated last time, but I don't even know if Rodrygo and Sesko wins you the league. I don't even know if Gyökeres and Rodrygo wins you the league, not up against what City got, so let's see. I'd rather get a natural winger. That's what we need, and Eze is not that. And if he comes and plays number 10 and gets the best out of him, of course he can play with Odegaard against deep blocks. I mean, so you'd rather, it's not like we're choosing Eze over Rodrygo, guys. If we're getting Eze, it's because we can't get Rodrygo. So I think that needs to be, woken up. I feel like there's almost like a missing piece here. Eze is definitely going to come in only if we can't get Rodrygo. If we can get Rodrygo, then Eze doesn't come, so do you want to go to the options beyond Rodrygo? Because Eze is not a natural winger. Because after Rodrygo, it's not looking good. There's no Nico Williams. There's no Barcola. There's no Gittins. We're talking Semenyo. We're talking Anthony Gordon. Those players 100% don't make you better. Those players are not good enough for Arsenal at all in any way, shape, or form. Those are players that are going to have you asking, well, should we just start Martinelli instead? So I'm a little bit like, okay, so are we not clocking that if we get Eze, that's most likely because we're not getting Rodrygo? So it's not like there's this other winger out there that we can just get. Like, no, I'm getting Eze, even if he's not a natural winger, over dipping down into the Semenyos. That is just not going to happen. How about we get Rodrygo, Sesko, Gyökeres, then sell Martinelli and get Eze? I mean, again, it's all about Rodrygo and whether or not he's going to leave. If he's not leaving, then that's why we would probably be going for Eze. So, but I don't know. Until somebody says that we're going to go for all three, then I'm going to stay a little bit more cautious about it, because that was never the plan. The plan was never to get a left-sided attacker, that versatile attacker, and a left wing, because we needed to get somebody on the right. So I'm just going to stay a little bit cautious on that. But would that be amazing? Yes. If Arsenal could get that done, absolutely. But am I thinking that that's actually what's going to happen? No. Honestly, I'm not fussed, and I'm just happy we're getting a real attacker and a versatile one at that. I'm not fussed about it as well, because I think we're talking ourselves out of a really, really good player for one reason or another. People were more than happy to talk about Rodgers, knowing good and well that Rodgers is not a left wing either. But it was okay for Rodgers, but all of a sudden it's not okay for Eze. It's just very strange. The issue with signing an Eze is that it gives a show me what you got and prove why we shouldn't have sold you. He lacks intimidation factor. Rodrygo has. What? He lacks the intimidation factor Rodrygo has. Okay. You mean on paper? Because have you asked players what they think about Eze? Because we're talking about being intimidating to other teams, right? Not rivals, because rivals don't really matter. So, um, are we sure that players in the Prem are not scared of Eze? You think they're just, think he's a pauper? Hello? Like, what do you mean? Just given the payment structures, we can definitely get both. It's really not that much money if you think. Well, I don't know if it's like I don't know. Like, it's not about what I want. If I was getting what I wanted, then we would get Rodrygo and Eze and Sesko and ride off into the sunset. I'm just, Arsenal would have to show that level of ambition before I start getting wrapped up in this idea that that's what's going to happen, just for my face to be broke at the end of the window when we don't get them. Because I came into this window saying that I would be more than happy if we got Zubi and two attackers. So I'm going to stick with that and not move the goalpost, because now we're linked to Eze, and now I'm like, oh, but Rodrygo is also on offer, so I just want to be a little bit more realistic. So yeah, if we sell Martinelli, there is not a reason we can't buy Sesko, Eze, and Rodrygo. I just think it's a little bit unlikely that we'll sell Martinelli. I think this is like, but if we sell Martinelli, what's the likelihood, that we sell Martinelli? I know that he's been linked to Saudi, but we've had plenty of players linked to Saudi. We've had Trossard and Partey, and they both ended up staying. So let's just see, what happens. But just in general, whether Eze ends up being a third attacker or the second one that we get, I just feel like we're kind of talking ourselves out of a really good player for no reason. I think, obviously Rodrygo's still the number one choice and should be. He's a better player than Eze, but just because somebody is better doesn't mean that the other player is not good enough. And that's often how it's spun. It's, well, if we're going for the number one, then the number two must be ass. And that's not true. We know that. If he went to Spurs or Chelsea or whatever, I just know how Arsenal fans would act. If they go to a rival, why weren't we in for him? But if he comes to Arsenal, now we have all these questions, Arsenal will splash the cash. Let's see. Why would you sell Martinelli? Trossard can F off first. I mean, I don't know. I'm not Arsenal, but Martinelli's been mentioned more in the sale category than Trossard has been, and I'm not sure why that is. Let's see. Keenan, for all the people that want to keep Martinelli, would you buy him for 0 or 80 million euros? I know I wouldn't. Let's see. Eze is a perfect fit for Arteta's system. He can play anywhere up top. I just think there's different ways to skin a cat, and we're so like, I can't fathom that anybody that would sit here and say, well, he's not a perfect fit. But I bet you some of you guys are the same people that feel like we should get Gyökeres over Sesko. There's nobody that's less of a good fit or a perfect fit for Arsenal than Gyökeres. Gyökeres scores goals, but Arsenal would have to change the way that they play in order to facilitate what he does best. And so make sure you keep that same energy, because I feel like talent is more important than this system. I think good managers can plug different types of players into their system and modify it to make it work. But if Arteta's so rigid that he can only get one specific type of player or it falls apart, is the system even good enough? So here is my take. Buy Eze regardless. If we get Rodrygo, awesome. If we don't, Eze can fill in at left wing 8 and 10. But I think that's what Arsenal are thinking, Keenan. I think that's, to me, Eze means we want to make sure that we still raise the level of this team. We're not willing to go to Semenyos and players like that aren't good enough. We'd rather get somebody that's more of a Trossard mold, but 10 times better. And get the versatile player that still fills some needs in the squad that we need, 8, 10, left wing, and then maybe address it next summer when new options are available. because this isn't the last window ever in the history of man. There's going to be other windows, there's going to be other opportunities. So, you know, let's not just not do anything. Um, but I think they're looking at Eze as a really good opportunity. They probably know that they have infinite buy-in with him. I cannot see a reason why he would not want to come. I think he really, wants to almost like rewrite history. And I don't buy into this idea that people are not scared of Eze or they don't rate him. Sorry, but I just don't believe that. Um, let's see. If Rodrygo is available, it's something that will come up at the end of the window. And I think they kind of said that as well, that we're still going to be waiting for Rodrygo. And now there's murmurings coming out of, Spanish media that he's going to leave or he's going to be the player gone. And there's still a really good chance that we get Rodrygo, by the way. And if he ends up being the one that's available, then we must get him. We have to, but I still really like Eze, and I'm not about to sit here and act like I think that he's going to be some prohibitive player or not going to solve multiple problems in our team. So I'm into it. I know Semenyo isn't quite there, but he is an Eze, Kane, Vardy type of player. That guy that got rejected over and over and fought and goes up levels everywhere he goes. He will bang for us. And from a storyline perspective, absolutely, he's probably that guy. But from a level of talent wise, I'm not so sure. That's where I think we differ a little bit, Keenan. As a plus a 30, 40 million fast winger would be a boost. We need to look at a Douay style League One. Who is that player? I mean, I'm just trying to think who that player is. I mean, I personally still think we need somebody on the right. I think that position is looking like Saka's, calves are getting ran off of the bone. Because as good as Ethan is, I think the progression to right center mid or Odegaard's position is just kind of like more obvious. Now, was he perfect there this season? No, but how is he going to get better at that position without playing there? And so I think if they actually believe in him being the natural successor for that position or playing in that position at a good level, they have to trust that he's progressing and not pigeonhole him on the right-hand side when that didn't feel like a natural fit either. So, yeah, I think Ethan is less of a versatile player. I think his introduction into the team was great at right wing because it was less work, but I would expect him to take a couple steps forward this season. So right wing is still an opportunity for Arsenal to bring in somebody, maybe another versatile player, maybe somebody that can also play on the left. And I think that's where like the Kudus, Madweki, those links are coming. Now, do not bring me Madweki, but a Malik Fofana, a Bakayoko, those would be great players to bring in, and they kind of hit that 30 to 40 million pound range that you're talking about right there. One of the reasons as to why Arsenal has failed to take trophies for at least the last three seasons is lack of quality squad depth. Why release Party yet lack depth? At first it was Xhaka, now Party. I really don't want to get into this. He's not an Arsenal player anymore. We don't have to talk about him anymore. Just doesn't it worry you how Madrid fans don't rate Rodrygo and he hasn't played in left wing consistently? Not really, because listen, I think I do believe in one man's trash is another man's treasure, and Real Madrid have a a depth of luxury goods that Rodrygo is not going to look like the shiniest thing out there when you're bringing in the Mastroiannis and you have Güler and you have Mbappe and Bellingham and Vinny, so I think it's just less of we've seen this already and it's whatever, who cares, so and if we're being realistic, they've bet everything on Vinny playing left wing. That's who they want there. So he's not going to play there. Does that make you not a good player or somebody that can improve Arsenal? Remember, Arsenal, like, I want to be so real. When I said early on in last season, when we closed the transfer window closed, and I said, I don't even think Arsenal's attack is better than, it's sixth, fifth, sixth. If I'm being kind, I meant that shit. And it was only until after the season where people started agreeing with that. And our midfield and defense is so good that it compensates for having quite a poor attack for a team of our level. Of course, our attack is better than Leicester, but I don't even know that it was better than, anybody else that was like Villa or Newcastle. You know what I mean? Like teams that we absolutely should have a better attack than. And it's not even just about a depth problem. I think in other parts of our squad, it's more about depth. In attack, it's actually about lifting the ceiling because it's quite low. So for a Madrid that doesn't have that problem, of course, having a Rodrygo is like a luxury and they're not thinking about it as anything special. But for Arsenal, he instantly comes in and is damn near our best attacker. And that's just the reality. So, no, I'm not worried about that at all. Like, we have to be, I think, a little bit more confident in what we see with our own two eyes and not worry so much about, well, what are Real Madrid fans saying? Well, what about rivals saying? What do you think? What do you think about him? Do you think he's good enough to play left wing for Arsenal? Do you think he's good enough to lift our levels? Do you think he's good enough to take us to the next level? What do you see? What do you think? I think we think way too much about what rivals think and what, the team that they're leaving is saying. You know, why would I trust them anyway? They're not really like a reliable narrator, so yeah. That's why we need Eze and Rodrygo plus a striker. Kivior, Zinchenko, Vieira, Martinelli, Odegaard, Havertz, and Jesus must all go. Odegaard's not going anywhere, guys. So remember that left wing and right wing Alexis Sanchez from Barca that wasn't wanted in Spain. Let's see. They will still miss out till further notice. Look at the additions of Liverpool and City. Do Arsenal expect to come anywhere near that trophy they have to spend to trophies Barella in for party? I mean, okay. Like I don't really, I mean, I get that, and we need to spend. I don't think anybody doesn't think that we need to spend or we need to improve our attacking line. It's not like you're saying anything groundbreaking there, but I do kind of look at like when people put out lists of players like Barella, when better teams were not able to get Barella out of Italy, he's not leaving. Like, let's at least go with like more realistic, scenarios here. Barella in for party. Not only is it not like for like in any way, shape, or form, but he's kind of not available. So I don't know what to tell you there. The reason why Odegaard isn't going is because we aren't bold enough to get rid of him. Fair enough. If you think he's shit, you think he's shit. Rodrygo will be as good as Salah, Alexis, bookmark. Come back to it and give me my flowers. Just read this and commit it to memory. I have. Just we all know how guys like whatever and cronies will poo-poo everything the club does until we win something. They are not honest, just a bunch of disingenuous pricks. When do you think the first Arsenal signing will be officially announced? Sometime this week. I'm sure we'll get a announcement for Kepa or Zubamendi, both of them probably this week. And then Norgard's not 100% done yet, but it is going to get done. So I wouldn't expect that until like the next 2 weeks or so. And then from there, it's just about getting Mosquera done, putting in that second bid, getting that wrapped up. I saw that Valencia are getting their backup or their replacement for him now, and then go into these attackers, so let's see. I don't like this Eze links. It's making me excited. Whenever I get excited, the club does the opposite. I mean, it's hard not to get excited though when you hear these names. Like basically what the club is saying, like now something can change, it could always change, but right now it feels like if we don't get Rodrygo, we're getting Eze. So, I mean, how is it not to get it? How is it like it's impossible not to get excited with that, and I'm even falling victim to it a little bit. They will get Sesko and Eze. Rodrygo would be an elite signing. However, it will be more of a wild card deal, unlikely to happen, although needed. Eze is more feasible to attain, and he offers a different profile. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand the Odegaard situation. It's like every single time we talk about anything, he becomes like the main topic point, and I feel like he's been earmarked as the problem. But we shall see, how he rebounds from last season. It was quite literally just one bad season, and people have hopped on it, and I don't really know why that is. Some of it is because, people that like Martinelli are hiding behind Odegaard's bad season to try to detract and distract from how poor he's been for 2 seasons. Some people just hate him, because Lee Gunner told them to. But whether you like him or not, he's not going anywhere. His teammates really love him, even though people were creating stories about his teammates hating his guts and not respecting him. They've come out and said the exact opposite. He's literally the captain. So yeah. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to be miserable if your whole hill to die on is Odegaard. I wish Fab just posted a here we go, boom, no links and just a new signing so I can get excited. Jesus is back in the gym working. I have nothing to say about that. Let's be honest. We've been here before with Jesus where we waited for him to get fit and then he was, kind of fit for a little bit and then got the ACL. Now tearing your ACL is a very unlucky injury. So I don't want to act like I think that it's just because he's injury prone, but I think he's had so many injuries that it's hard for me to get excited about a player that is probably going to get injured again, so I hate to say that, but I think people are hoping that he'll be ready for the first half of the season. And we'll see. Comma guys, one bad season isn't enough to sell someone, but either way, you guys can go and do Odegaard, whatever you're doing. He's not going to get replaced. And so if that's your hill to die on, you're going to be very, very disappointed. Now, Eze could definitely come in and, help with the creativity and stuff like that, which is what we need, 110%. And he plays all the positions that we need a little bit more, just a little bit more in. And I'm really excited for this signing to potentially happen because I love the kid. And let's be honest, think about the announcement for just 1 second. How fucking cool is that announcement going to be? I love that. I love the idea that his announcement video would be, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but the announcement video has to be of him in the academy and all that. I'm if Eze signs, I'm getting an Eze 10 because he better get the 10, by the way, immediately and making a video instantly. I love it. He is so good. Johnny says Eze is 27, not a kid. That's why I say Rodrygo is important as far as I'm sending a message similar to an Ozil. It would be a direct counter to the Wirtz deal and lets them know we're coming for them. Eze should be a surplus. Eze, I am drooling. That means we know Rodrygo is not available. Not necessarily, OG. I think Arsenal are making sure that they have something waiting just in case Rodrygo does not leave. I'm going to be honest. My gut is telling me, my gut could be very wrong, but I think we have a genuine chance of getting Rodrygo. I'm really not. And until otherwise, I do feel like it's taking long time, a longer time than we would want it to take. But I genuinely do feel like there's a chance that he's going to leave. And if he leaves, we're well placed to get him. I think we've already spoken to him and pretty much, what's the word? We've pretty much maybe sold him on if he leaves, then he'll come to us. He probably needs, it's just a hard decision to make. I feel, I've spoken about this many times, but I just feel like the things that people are have never made a decision this big in their life, but are telling him that he should just make the decision in a minute, and they're not putting themselves in his shoes. Playing for Real Madrid or Barcelona is almost every young player's absolute dream, and he got there when he was like 16 or something like that, and it's the only club that he's been at in Europe, and he's talking about signing for a new club, and these are his prime years. So this is a really important decision for him to make. And so I'm trying to be as calm as I possibly can and as patient, not trying to pretend like I think that he should just jump ship instantly, because I feel like that's totally disingenuous. But we have to be able to pivot quickly if we sense that it's taking too long. And if the pivot is Eze, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be upset. If the pivot is to, I feel like it's so similar to Trossard in so many ways, not in terms of the quality, because we know that Eze is way better than Trossard, let's be honest. But when we needed to pivot away from Mudryk, and that was like more of like a risky blockbuster, you know, um, you know, headline making type of signing. We did pivot to a more versatile creative player that was prem proven, that we knew was going to work. We're basically, it's kind of like the same deal, but the level of players is like 1,000 times better. And so I think for the most part, Trossard has been a good signing for us, and it's worked out. But would I like to upgrade on him now with a player of Eze's level? Absolutely. Whether that means we need to go get that true left winger later on in the window or next summer, I'm okay with that, as long as an Eze level player is coming in. I really don't want to drop down to Semenyo. I'm sorry. Total Eclipse, thank you so much for your super chat. Says my new account, mod me up. Let's see. How do I think I need to do that on the actual stream, don't I? Let's see. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay, I added you as a mod. Thank you. If you guys want to be a moderator, you guys can let me know, and I will let you be a moderator as well. Let's see. Against smaller teams, imagine as a 10, Odegaard, Zubi 6 midfield. Now, if that doesn't unlock things, nothing will, period. And it's so good, like, potentially having an option that solves like the ball carrying thing that we don't have, like the dribbling. We just lack different types of ways to break down blocks, and so Eze would give you a lot of that. I think people are underrating what a good player Eze would be for us. Is it Rodrygo exotic? No, but it's Eze, for fuck's sake. You fans care everything but not about trophies. But what is the caring about the announcement video? How does that mean that I don't care about trophies? I want you to explain that, because it's like saying like, "Oh, I'm excited about the new kits for this season." Does that mean I don't care about trophies, or does it just mean that I'd be excited for the announcement video, or I'm excited for the kits? I don't really understand what the two have to do with each other. They have nothing to do with each other. Let's see. Agreed, Johnny. I don't know who Johnny is. Both are doable. But if we only end up with one of Eze or Rodrygo, it will be a lot better than Sterling, like signing at midnight on deadline day. And yeah, I agree. I think it's because we're being linked to both players now that I think people are getting it locked in their head that we should or are going to get both. I am going to step a couple steps back from that, because the original almost promise for the window was 2 attackers. So, and if we brought in a third one, it was going to be a winger for the other side. So I don't want to get wrapped up in this idea that now if we don't get Eze and Rodrygo, it's a terrible window, because I can see it's going in that direction. It's definitely going in that direction. and I probably will not be on that train. But getting Eze or Rodrygo when last summer we got Raheem Sterling, come on. Like that's way better, obviously, because nothing could be worse. You could have signed me and I would have been better. Legitimately, I would have given you more than what Raheem Sterling gave y'all. Trust and believe. Like, come on. So I mean, that was just catastrophic. Shamaria, I made you a moderator as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So yeah, no, Shamaria is here all the time. So of course I'm gonna add Shamaria. Let's be real. Diallo says Eze has a 68 million pound release clause playable in installments, which I know is attractive to Arsenal. And I feel like that might have been what put us off last summer because we were linked to Eze last summer and we didn't go for him. And it was probably because we didn't want to play the release clause all the way up front. Rodrygo is on the bench again. Yeah. I mean, if he wants to stay, then that's on him, but I think Xabi is kind of, how we always say that Arteta's a liar, and I agree that I think Arteta's a liar, but I feel like it's kind of like par for the course because I don't really see many managers going out there and saying that their players are absolute shit, and they want him out. I think he's saying the nice thing, like, oh, he's an important player and all that. But if he's an important player, Arteta said that about players and then kicked them to the curb the next day, like Ramsdale, so his actions are definitely speaking louder than his words. And I think he's making it pretty known to Rodrygo that he's not really that important, so we'll see what he decides. But I'm just very like happy with either one of these options, so yeah. I prefer Rodrygo to Eze. Age is also a factor. I want a difficult question to be answered. If we sign Rodrygo and you would have the option of Isak or Gyökeres plus Eze, who would you go for? If we sign Rodrygo? Why are we talking about Isak, Johnny? What are we doing here? What's happening? Like, if Isak was available and all those things, and you've already gotten Rodrygo, so you've already done half the work, then I guess I would maybe Isak plus Rodrygo gets you so close to where you want to be. So I think I'd go Isak. Quality over quantity, because Gyökeres to me plus Eze plus Rodrygo, I don't know. That's good still. But then you're just like done. Like you have your left wing option for the eternity. You have your striker option for the eternity, essentially, like the next like 7, 8 years. Not 7, 8, 6, 7. That's a tough one. I'm leaning towards Isak. Is there no option for Isak plus Eze? I don't know. I guess not. That's why it's a difficult question. I think I'm leaning towards Isak. But yeah. Let's see. Just unmod Total Eclipse. What is Total Eclipse doing? Is Total Eclipse, are you being annoying? Like, what are you doing? Don't do nonsense in here. Be a like a nice, calm mod. I'll unmod you if you're annoying people. Would you swap Sesko for Watkins if you can get both Rodrygo and Eze this summer? Come on. He's timing people out for no reason. Okay. Yeah, let's get him out. Sorry, Total Eclipse. I like you, but you're gonna have to get unmodded because you're not being good. You're not following the rules, so you're no longer a moderator. Sorry. Let's see. No, I believe my peeps, Total Eclipse. I believe my people. My people have been around for a long time. They wouldn't lie to me about that stuff. But maybe we'll try again another day. But I mean, let's see. Yeah, it might. It, what was the question? Swap Watkins. So I'm only suffering with Watkins for like 2 or 3 seasons, essentially. But you get Rodrygo and Eze. Yeah, I think I do it. I think I do it. Um, I think I do it. Yeah. Oh, he shouldn't have blocked Hold That. Hold That wasn't doing anything. Hopefully, maybe how can I unblock him? Hold on, let me go back and see. Hold That. Oh, come on. That was terrible. I don't know how to unblock them. I'll have to go in and find it, but hopefully they won't be mad at me. Arsenal is not a serious club. They sent out fake updates to confuse the fans and to make it seem like we were doing stuff, or they send fake updates to Twitter journalists who want to be Romano. Okay. He blocked Keenan. Okay, hold on. How do I find the blocked people? Give me 2 seconds because I need to figure this out. I think there's a place where I can find the people that have been blocked. Give me 2 seconds. Because hello, what was he doing? Okay. Because hello. Customization. Now this is something that I don't want to be doing. Okay. Permissions. Standard moderators. Hidden users. Hidden users. I'm gonna like literally have to do this another day because I can't figure this out. Paste. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm just trying to figure this out really quick. Because channel advanced uploads. Yeah, I need to figure this out later. Oh no, Keenan. Surely there's somewhere where you can unblock people. And easily. Like, why is it so hard to find? Damn. Is there anybody else I should know of? Unblock. This is so bad. Like, now I have to go into like literal click people and sharing and contact section. Okay, let's see. Sorry guys, I need to figure this out real quick. At least attempt to, because the fuck. Oh, I'm about to block what's his name forever. Like, he's just fucked this whole thing up for me. All right. Just blocking people for no reason. The fuck? Yeah. I don't know if I'll be able to find it right now because I'm like a little panicky. So. Oh my gosh, I can't find it, y'all. Channel. I can't find it. F. All right, we're just gonna have to continue on with the show because we have to continue on. But my God, man, is he okay? I'm sad about Keenan because he didn't do anything. Chat. I think I found it. Okay, this is it's taking too long. Okay, sorry guys. Now I'm freaking out. Now why are they calling me right now? Everything is happening at once. I'm just like unblocking somebody from YouTube. Go to your studio settings, community, tap the X. Okay. Because Keenan should not be blocked. He's not done anything. But okay, I'm gonna keep talking at the same time while I try to look for this. But let me know in the comment or in the chat, who do you guys actually want to sign? Do you guys prefer Rodrygo still, or would you rather us just go for Eze? Let me know in the chat. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure this out later. I can't figure it out. I'm panicking. Okay. Like full on panic. Now you're gonna get blocked. You're pissing me off. Okay. You just blocked somebody that's been on the channel for like a million years and like never does anything bad, and like now I'm panicking because I can't figure it out. I know I'm gonna figure it out. Okay. I just don't understand why it's so hard to find like a list of people that are blocked from your channel. Total Eclipse, you will pay for your sins. Count your days. Count your days. Because quite literally, I cannot find Keenan and it's driving me nuts. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it after because now it's longing out. Yeah, we'll get back to debating. I'm sorry, guys. Is Keenan here? Oh, whew. I was like, he's gone. I was panicking so bad. You have no idea. My heart was like, he's gonna think I did it on purpose, and I would never block you. Like, are you? I don't block anyone except for weirdos. So, okay, we get back to the stream. I was panicking so bad. Okay, we're back. Okay, so now I'm like, I feel so normal now. But let's see. I'd rather we kept progressing with Eze rather than go on a goose chase for Rodrygo, just not get him, only persist with Rodrygo when he makes it clear he wants to leave. Eze over Rodrygo, in my opinion. There's quite a few people that would prefer him. I was like, no, not Keenan. It can't be him. So if we got Rodrygo, Sesko, or Gyökeres, Saka, Martinelli, Wanyeri, Havertz, is that good enough for us to win the Premier League? I think so. I think it definitely puts us in the mix. I think right now with what we have, we're out of the mix of the title race. I don't think anything 100% guarantees, because like, even though I do think like on paper right now I'm picking Man City, there's still enough in that Liverpool side where I'm like, they could do it, like they still have like, they have Salah, they brought Words, like, so I think where we're at right now with what we have, Havertz, Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, Saka, we're out of the mix. I think on paper, you'd have to look at it and say Arsenal will be top four-ish, around there, but they're definitely not in a title race. If you add Rodrygo and a striker to that, I do think we're in the mix. I think the reason why we're in the mix, like a big reason why we're in the mix, most of the time is because of our defense. I think they do a lot of the heavy lifting, but you need to add something up top. So Rodrygo make a huge difference up front for us. I think we lack so much that once we get that player in the building, it's gonna be so obvious what we've been missing. We've had basically the same attack for a long time, like, and no real needle movers. We saw what a difference, like, Gabriel Jesus made to the team, even in that, like, 4-month stint, and to be honest, the only reason why he's not making that impact on the team now is injuries. There was a world that we were living in where we were perfectly okay with that striker not scoring a lot of goals because his impact was so big on everyone else, and it made everybody else bigger and better. So if you think about the level that Jesus is at, and you look at Rodrygo, do you not see what an impact of just even one player will give you? But we're actually adding two. So I think that's the issue, is that we're thinking about it from like just numbers, numbers, numbers. But I think the impact that one player can make on an entire group can be massive because we've seen it with Jesus. Jesus quite literally made this team, and obviously there are other factors like Saliba coming back and Ben White moving to right back and Zinni, but Jesus definitely lifted up that attack. He made Odegaard better. He made Saka better. He made Martinelli better. Um, and so I think about it from that perspective, that a player of a certain level can lift you so much that it almost is a better impact than two players, like two players of like a much lesser quality, you know? Um, let's see. How is it possible that Brighton has better options in the front line than us? Shaking my head. It's been a neglect for so long. The neglect has been for so long that at one point it didn't feel like this, but now it does. And so I don't think a top 4 team or a Champions League level team should go a single window without improving their attacking options. Whether that's bringing in a younger player or bringing in a replacement for a starter, but we've gone multiple windows without really addressing anything. We bought Jesus in 2022, and it's 2025, and he was the last attacker that we brought in that lift the levels. Havertz made us different, but I don't think he made us that much better. And Trossard, he's a good, like, standard kind of like steady kind of guy, but nothing that was lifting the level. So we should actually be bringing in an attacker almost every single window, and we just don't do it. Like, the level of commitment we have to the back, we need to have it up front as well. I would take one less defender every once in a while to get an attacker if that's what it took. So um, I do think Rodrygo could have a Jesus like, because I'm looking, you could say Alexis levels, but also a Jesus level impact on the team was basically from a team that couldn't finish in the top 4 to a title contender. That level of impact came from Gabriel Jesus, you know? So something between an Alexis Jesus type of uplift is what we're looking for. 2 seasons ago, Liverpool finished 3rd with 82 points and a bunch of injuries. Last season, they finished with 84 and won the league with Salah carrying them. To win the league, you need luck as well. Would you pass on the striker this summer if it was meant getting Isak next summer? Um, what do you mean by that? Missing out completely, so not even a Watkins? What am I getting this summer? Like, I need to know I'm getting something good this summer. I can't just get nothing this summer, so maybe if it guaranteed and he signed a contract this summer and it was done, like we had it like set in stone, like, but hypothetically, yes, depending on what we get this summer, I still need to get stuff this summer. Um, let's see. Isak is available right now. I would drop the bag, man. He is the captain now. Jess, girl, I'm just marrying you to Isak right now. Bring me the rings. I'm not, the Isak thing is just, I've cast it out of my mind and it's coming back and I'm not quite sure why. Diallo, thank you so much for your super chat. Says Jess's love for Keenan is like Kyra Cooney cross for MLS. I just don't like when, it's like my day ones are like getting abused. Like, what's happening? Like, there's certain people that exist in this chat and in this community that are here no matter what's going on. Technical difficulties, crash outs, bad internet connections, whether I'm at my parents' house in their office or in my house over here, like and Keenan is one of those. So I'm like, what? Like if Diallo, if the same thing happened to you, I would be having a panic attack as well. So it's not just Keenan, like my day ones have been here for a long time. Rodrygo will be on the bench again for the third consecutive match for Real Madrid. I don't know what to say. You know that you have a home here, buddy. You have a home here, so Zubamendi pinging balls to Sesko, Rodrygo, Saka, and Eze crying and fire emojis. You guys are starting to dream. I'm starting to see. You're starting to dream. That can only mean one thing. Oh my gosh. I'm starting like hold on real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Because Guy is asking me for stuff and I'm like, but I'm doing this. Actually, I'll wait till after because you guys need my undivided attention right now. Well, Jess, you're my Black Arteta. I like you, and you're also an Arsenal fan. I'll fight for you, even when you sometimes lie is fucking crazy. Your Black Arteta is crazy. I could never be Arteta. Like, please, like, oh my goodness. But I get what you're saying. Wait, Liverpool want a left wing also. How much money do these guys have? They're so jarring, man. How will Alonso defend not starting him today? I just think he's making it really obvious. I don't think there is any defense. I think in the end of the day, they're like, we're not going to push you out because obviously, we prefer to have you than not. We can do with or without you, really, but you're going to have to ask for the out. And that's what's causing the problem. If they would just kick him out, it'd be a much different scenario. His bags would be packed, but they're not doing it, so he has to find it within himself to choose a different path. And like I said, you can be Alexis Sanchez or you can be Lucas Vasquez, take your pick. Let's see. Alonso must have Rodrygo under a spell or something. My bags would have already been packed. So you would just ignore that Liverpool had 82 from 34 games and won the league. They would make 90 plus. What makes people think Mikel wouldn't play Isak on the left and Kaya striker? Do you understand how annoying that would be? Like, drop him. Like, just drop Havertz. It's fine if he sits on. It's not fine. We have to find an exit route. We can't be having somebody on the bench on 260-something thousand pounds a week. But for one season, it's not. Just drop him. Like, what the fuck? If I saw Isak doing, sprints, wing back shifts, I think like Arteta would find me at his door. Like, open up, Mikel. We need to talk. H, thank you so much for your super chat. You're adding hold that, saying if you're overhyping, I think you're overhyping everything. We need to win. Overhyping what? What is he overhyping? I'm looking. Y'all are just going back and forth with each other. I guess maybe this. But is this not winning? Like, if these are some of your attacking options, is this bad? Like, Zubamendi giving the ball to Sesko, Rodrygo, Saka, and Eze. Is that bad? Is that bad? I feel like that's good. That's a winning attack. Your issue is thinking that is the end of the world if we don't win. Arsenal will be here next season. We'll win trophies no matter what. Um, if you watch Arsenal, RSW, you will understand Kyra Cooney Cross and MLS. They definitely have like a little special cutesy relationship. That's for sure. I love Hold That. Makes me look like a pessimist. Makes me even look like a pessimist. I could have sworn Hold That was being negative the other day, though. Was that someone else? I feel like maybe that was Hold That was being super negative the other day, but maybe that was somebody else. I'm getting him mixed up. But yeah, this person is very, very excited, which I'm not mad at. Zubimendi would just ping the ball directly to Isak and he slots it right in. I'm sorry by Ben Sesko and Jokeris if he's available. Daniel says, Jess, don't you like Eze and his celebration? Oh, I love Eze. Like, he's one of my favorite players outside of the Big Six. If not my favorite now that Mbomo has done us so dirty. But he's just a player that you can't help but love. You know, I think that's the thing is I don't think there's anybody that does not like Eze. You know, South London baller, plays for Crystal Palace, a club that I feel like a lot of people have a soft spot for. He seems like a really good guy. I don't know him, but he seems like a good guy. And he deserves a big move, you know. He just does, you know, and a big move that is not Tottenham, like a much bigger move for him. He can play. I feel like he can play for like any team, to be honest. So, yeah, Arteta favorites Odegaard, Martinelli, and Havertz. I don't think he likes Martinelli that much. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think Odegaard definitely for sure. Rice, for sure. Rice, Odegaard, Havertz is definitely a favorite. Saka, but Martinelli, not so much. Let's have some shame. We have not won the league in 21 years. Rodrygo isn't coming. I want trophies. But what do you mean though? Like, I feel like you're getting upset because people are excited about the idea of getting these attackers in. But are we meant to live at a funeral? Do you want us yelling and screaming and, you know, upset and Arteta out every 5 seconds, even though we're talking about the transfer window? Why do you not think Rodrygo is coming? You know, I feel like wanting Rodrygo and wanting that attack is equivalent to wanting trophies. So what do you mean, H? What do you mean by that? What's going on? What's happening? What are you upset by? There were days when I completely crashed out with Jess, but then again, I still come back the next day. It's family over here. Exactly. Like we crash out together. Like this is what it's like. It feels so good to crash out on a stream sometimes and everybody just crash out together. And it's like, okay, got that out. Is Eze for left wing or going to challenge Odegaard for a spot? The main reason, it's not so much that I don't think, so here's my thought process on it is Arteta, I think as much as people are not going to like me saying this, I do think that he has a specific way of thinking about the way that right center mid works. He said that he kind of built things around Odegaard, which I know people don't like, but he likes a left footer on the right-hand side. And so Odegaard is our right-sided attack midfielder or 8, and Ethan is the other player that's coming down the pipeline, kind of ready to take that spot, but can also replicate the way that Odegaard plays it. Now he plays differently because he's a real shooter, but he has his left-footed right side center mids, right? And Max Dowman coming down the line as well. Eze, when he plays for Crystal Palace and when he plays for England, is more left-sided. And so I'm not sure that he's challenging Odegaard for a spot unless Arsenal are going to a 4-2-3-1, which I don't think that they are. I think Arsenal is sticking with the 4-3-3. And so if you think about the 4-3-3 and you look at the way that it's laid out, he's more likely to not challenge Odegaard per se, unless Maybe he moves Rice to the right-hand side, doubtful. But he's less likely to challenge Odegaard, but more likely to play with Odegaard or instead of Rice at left center mid. And then play left wing, but more in the kind of like template of Trossard, who comes central, who, is more creative on the wing, but can still beat his man on the outside. That's why it's more of like a positional thing and the way that the way we're laid out versus like, can Eze play the number 10? Yes, but Odegaard's not even a number 10 for us. We're in a 4-3-3 with very kind of like clear lines of who goes in what areas. Now, maybe we become more fluid and Arteta changes things up, but I have a hard time believing that Arteta is going to switch everything up when I think he views the right-hand side as what's working and the left-hand side what's not working. Especially when you have other players that are already coming down the line. We actually have nothing on the left. This is why I feel like Odegaard being challenged for his position is a lot less of a priority than making sure that the left-hand side is at least usable. Like right now, our left-hand side is like a dumpster fire. Can the right-hand side be better? Yes, but it's kind of like the only way that we function. So getting somebody on the left-hand side that can help us open up deep blocks, beat people on that side, and make it more of like an even, playing field where we're not just shoveling it down to the right-hand side. Being able to trust the left-hand side, again, is more important than somebody taking Odegaard's spot, but that's how I think of it. Also, because I think Ethan is going to take that spot at some stage. I just think it just makes the most sense. But let's see. Let's see how it works out. Maybe Arteta changes everything and he goes through to a 4-2-3-1 and Eze plays 10 and Odegaard hits the bench. But I think even if I say that, even if that's what you want, I actually don't think you believe it. So yeah, I challenge that, Jess. I can see Arteta switching the 8s, Rice and Odegaard, so the 8s can do overlaps for Saka and Rodrygo because we won't get an overlap from the fullbacks. I think a change for Rodrygo. Well, maybe we change everything for Rodrygo. We shall see. I mean, if Arteta decides to be less rigid and do different things, in my opinion, like that's not the worst thing in the world. I think that there's just certain things that are not going to happen, and we kind of know that. So it's like, I don't know what to tell you. We should be going to a 4-2-3-1. Arteta's best iteration of Arsenal was a 4-2-3-1, and he abandoned it for whatever reason. And now we got Zubimendi in and Rice. So we've been in a position to play a 4-2-3-1 the whole time. So it's by design that we don't play it. Eze is a more natural fit for left center mid in our system. I do think he can fill in for Odegaard when needed. And I agree with Keenan here is when you look at where Eze plays and where he tends to unlock teams, it is on that left-hand side. I'm not saying that he never drifts over to the right, but you've watched him before. You guys have been watching Eze for years. He drifts onto the left-hand side. So it's more likely that he ends up being an option for left center mid and left wing rather than a right center mid, but can he play there? Absolutely. He's a good enough player to play there. Absolutely. Let's get real. Liverpool and City are better than us. Arteta out. Well, at least we know why you're crashing out. I would call this a crash out, and that's fine. Crash out as you will. But we're talking about transfers, and I don't think anybody believes that we're better than Liverpool or City at this point. But is there any point in just continuously yelling Arteta out into the abyss when he's definitely going to be on the sideline next season and we're in the middle of a transfer window? Probably not, So I think maybe you're thinking that because the chat is not just abusing Mikel and talking about him ad nauseum and talking about how Liverpool and City are so much better, you're thinking that people in this chat are just okay with not being good enough, when you should have been here probably like 2 weeks ago, because you would have enjoyed that, because we were definitely a lot more critical about last season and stuff like that. But it's just not the time or the place right now to be, yelling out Arteta out for no reason, because it's nothing's gonna happen, Just we overhype everything and we sign these players and we still win nothing, trust me. I mean, but then just shut it down, just shut down the whole club, and go into administration. If no matter who we sign, we're not gonna win anything, then shut it down. I just it's I get it, like I really do understand it, that it's frustrating because nothing feels like it's going to be good enough. I know most people are going to go into next season in defeatist because of what Liverpool and City have done, but what can we do right now? Do you get what I mean? So I get it. And yeah, you have standards. Fair enough. And a lot of people in this comment section also do not want Mikel at the club, but this is a transfer stream and we're talking about the news that's happening right now. So yeah. But thank you so much for your super chat. I do appreciate it and I understand where you're coming from. It's just there's a lot of people in this community that don't rate Mikel or would move away from him. And we have called the club out, but that's not what this stream is for, So, but there are plenty of streams that only focus on talking about Mikel at nauseum. I'm not doing that in my summertime. It's summertime, the sun is shining. I live in Los Angeles, California. I'm not going to sit here and bitch about Mikel when we're not playing games, So I hear you, but it is what it is, Who knew we would even challenge in 22-23? Let him shut up. I mean, I just think we're at the stage now where I need to be excited about something. So I know Mikel is going to be, the manager and nothing is changing. Everybody knows my feelings on Mikel and how if it was up to me, he'd be gone this summer for sure. But now I just have to hope that we bring in players that make us better, because whether it's Mikel or another coach, we still need these players to come in. No coach is coming in and having just Havertz as a striker and Martinelli and Trossard as wingers and is going to win the league. So it's really regardless of what Mikel wants, we need to bring in these players. So, it is what it is. If we sign Sesko, Eze, and Rodrygo, we will 100% win major honors this year. I would bet big on that. That would be an amazing summer window. I'm really now wanting that to happen, but I want to stay a couple steps back, I believe Arsenal are right in the right direction. You think Liverpool bought good players, but are good or test in the Premier League. Let's wait until the season starts. Let's see. Who knew we would even challenge? Okay, I read that one. Eze for president. That's it. I'm convinced, just because of his celebration. But also with Eze, I just feel like, he's somebody that's going to die for this move. And I know you guys kind of feel similarly about Gyökeres, is you want players that are desperate to come. And I do kind of like the idea that Eze is going to want to change things around. Now that's different than Rodrygo. Rodrygo is not, he's going to have to prove something, but in a different way. He would have to prove that he's the type of player that can leave Real Madrid and lead another team, can actually go from being a bit part to the main guy and lead Arsenal to the promised land. Eze's is a little bit different. His is more, I left Arsenal, but I am the type of player that can play for a top team and lead them to silverware. Kind of, it's a little bit different. And I kind of like both players needing to prove something, but Eze's definitely is a feel-good story. So yeah, I like the Eze thing for sure. Eze could finally solve our direct free kick issues. Wake that up. Wake that up. I'm so sorry, but I want a number 9 that takes our penalties. I love Saka down. Do not get me wrong, but if you're lying to yourself, if you feel like you don't get a little fucking nervous every time that he steps up for a pen. Don't shoot me. I love Saka, but you know, free kicks, take those off Odegaard forever, because Declan, obviously, we're not gonna expect him to do that every week now. Um, and take the pens off of Saka and get a number 9. I'm a traditionalist. My number 9 is taking my pens. And if you can't take it, you can't be my number 9. Sorry, what is this? Like, you can't take my pens? Come on. So number 9 takes the pens, and then you have somebody like Rodrygo or Eze that is able to put in a good direct free kick. Let's really get into it. Eze will thrive and make us stronger, but let's not forget all the work being done on depth. Zubi, left wing, Rodrygo, hopefully, and striker. Jalen says, I hear that 9 on pens all day. I mean, I get that we were doing like the round robin, and I think the reason why we did that was to kind of not make it obvious who was taking it, and also because we don't have like a 100 like 99 percenter in the team, but we need to move away from that. We need to move away from both players are standing up on the little dot, and then somebody takes the ball. Like, no more of that. Funnily enough, Havertz is probably our best penalty taker, percentage wise, but even he scares the shit out of me. So yeah, bring somebody that can, a number 9 that's just going to smash it in the back of the net. I think that's just the best way to take a pen anyway. Hit it so hard that even if they do get to it, it still goes in the back of the net. I think Harry Kane is probably like the best at that we've seen over the years, because we've been on the receiving end of so many, but put it in the back of the net. Why are we kicking it so soft? Like, and for the love of God, no Panenka that doesn't even go down the center in a Champions League quarterfinal. Like, for goodness sake. Alan Shearer, pens, lethal. I just feel like we're losing recipes. Like, just hit it as hard as you can into the corner. No Panenkas, nothing dumb. Like, don't try to recreate it. Like, everybody that takes pens for us scares the shit out of me. Give me a 9 that can put the ball in the back of the net. Jokeris is very good at penalties. He is. Luis Enrique, Iriola, or Xavi would all be great, similar to Arteta, with a little bit more attacking quality. I'm talking about replacing Mikel, I guess. Yeah, there's options out there. I don't really believe in this, well, who can you get instead? Like, that's not, you guys know I don't sit on that. Like, maybe I don't know exactly who I'm bringing in, but that's up to Berta. All I know is that if somebody is shown that they're not the person, then we're not doing ourselves a favor by just sticking with them just because we're afraid of the unknown. I think when you're afraid of the unknown, it's because you don't trust yourself, and scared money don't make no money. I feel like you have to be willing to take risks, and big teams take big risks, and they also fail fast. So if it's not working, they cut ties and start again. They're not afraid to maneuver. But we're afraid to make moves. And yeah, so why don't our front 3 rotate in games? It's much more difficult to defend against. Used to love that during the 2022-2023 season. I think it's just like we've gone to a more rigid, I may be using this term out of maybe like not in the right way, but it does feel like we moved to this jugare position thing, and that's very heavily based upon people staying in zones. And, I think it also gives you natural angles and places to pass the ball where that player is going to be. It makes it easier, but it also means that out of possession, you're not out of position. And I think maybe the season prior, Arteta was, he felt like we conceded too much being out of position and having too many men thrown forward. And so he wanted to keep people in these natural kind of like boxes, or, these kind of like sectioned off areas to keep from us being threatened off the ball and out of possession. So I think that's also why our front 3 doesn't rotate as much. Nobody rotates or there's a distinct lack of movement in the way that we play. There's very little runs being made. There's no switching. There's nothing. Everybody just kind of stays in their position and we just pass sideways and backwards until, we get it to somebody and then we get a corner, So, but that's why when, no offense to Guillaume Balaguer, I mean, maybe he knows better than me, but when he sat up there and said that Luis Enrique takes a lot of his cues from Pep. I was like, I think he does, but not the Pep that we've seen in the Prem, the Pep that used to coach Barcelona. I feel like it was more of that, because Barcelona never played um, a rigid system the way that Mikel and Pep have played over the last couple of seasons, where there's not as much movement, So, how Luis Enrique's PSG plays is nothing like the way that we play. Because I remember I said, whatever Luis Enrique is doing, we need to take some cues from that. And somebody was like, yeah, but it's exactly what we do. And no, it ain't. It's not. This is not it. It's not. That is not what I watched in that final. Is not JDP. It is not Jogo de Position. It's not. Hakimi is in the box. Like, hello. And so we had a lot more freedom in 22-23 than we have now. Now, I also think that teams clocked on to us, so we had to change things a little bit. But there were just times where, like, Martinelli would pop up on the right, Seko pop up on the left, Odegaard was everywhere, and Jesus was everywhere. And so, and you'd find Zinni out on the right every once in a while. And yes, that left us exposed, but it also made it more difficult for us to be defended against. So it's he needs to implement some sort of freedom into this team. The way we play now is just way too rigid. And I know that the Premier League is different than the French league, so I don't necessarily feel like, you know, that we can replicate it to a T, but I felt like the style that we had before definitely lent itself better to winning the league than what we do now. But Hold That says, just the talent dictates how free attackers are allowed to roam. Arteta likely felt that his attackers lacked the star quality or intuition to score from nowhere aside from Saka. I mean, but he's had pretty much the same attackers. So are you basically telling me that he doesn't view Havertz as a good enough attacker, and so he doesn't want to give him freedom? Because Martinelli had freedom and then he took it away. Does he feel like Martinelli has regressed? Because you can't be free, and maybe it's about having Jesus and Zinchenko versus whoever plays left wing or left back plus Havertz. Maybe he just doesn't feel like those players are not going to be able to replicate what we did before with more freedom, but then get better attackers. Let's go ahead and get some better attackers. But yeah, if you have like Rodrygo, Saka, and a new striker, I'm gonna expect some fucking freedom. I'm gonna expect seeing Rodrygo pop up on the right, Saka pop on the left. You have Zubi now, so you don't have to put Odegaard in a position to control more tempo. So he should be more free in the middle. If you have Eze, I'm expecting him to pop up everywhere, So let's see how it goes. The streets won't forget that first 6 months of Jesus. In 22-23, I saw mad tactics. Zinni on the right wing against Man U, Xhaka popping up at left wing, crossing. He was doing a madness that season. It was just maybe having less technical players. He didn't feel, because we have gone to a less technical team and a more physical team. Maybe he felt like, the more physical players don't have the technical quality to pop up in those positions and not struggle. So he puts them in a more rigid system to make it easier for them on the ball. But it lacks that freedom off it. Maybe I'm just trying to understand, but we need to move away from that. Like, that shit sucks. That shit sucks. So yeah, but any one of Rodrygo Eze brings a lot more technical quality to this team, which is needed. So yeah. I mean, I don't even want to start getting excited. This is actually, I think it's like HTOMUFC, probably one of the only Manchester United fans that actually believes knows ball, by the way. But he's saying Eze suits Arsenal quite brilliantly if he is to play as a left center mid. He's got the right power to rotate into wider spaces, but he's an attacking midfielder at heart. His ability to execute at top speed, bounce off players when guarding the ball, strike the ball beautifully from the top of the box, and his general two-footedness answers quite a lot of questions that Arsenal currently faces versus mid-blocks and during transitions. Similar qualities to Cunha. So, yeah. I think there's a lot to like about Eze, but maybe we're going to get both. I don't know. I know everybody's like a serious club would get both. We're really not a serious club, are we? But I mean, that would be absolutely insane if we got both Eze and Rodrygo. Whew. Well, like, what do we do? I feel like I wouldn't. Who gets the number 10, by the way? If we were to get both of them, I feel like somebody's not getting the number 10, obviously. So, no, it's not illegal to read the super chats. We're going to read your super chats. Don't worry. I do appreciate them. I'm just trying to get through some of the comments and what we were actually talking about, but I'll read your comments out. I promise. You said, is it illegal to read super chats? No, it's not. We're the bridesmaids, never the bride. It's true. Let's get serious. Protests are due. Sign Isak, Gyökeres, Eze, and Rodrygo actually serious. And you guys are talking shit to each other, which is crazy. And yes, I'm controversial, but that's football opinions. I mean, you're allowed to be controversial. It's not, it's not the end of the world. Controversy, also is okay here. Just don't expect everybody to agree with you. But at the same time, I do feel like you've entered this chat where, because people are not talking about protesting and getting the manager out and fuck the club and all that kind of stuff, that you think that everybody in here is, just like a top gooner or something like that. And it's really not. So yeah, it's just, I respect your opinion, and I do share some of the same sentiments that, we may need a better manager, and, we need to get serious and all that kind of stuff. It's just not the time, so, but fair enough. And I do appreciate your super chats, and you're obviously more than welcome to have your 2 cents. Thinking the club is going to buy Gyökeres, Isak, Rodrygo, and Eze is just mental. But I do think some people, they put out these outlandish requests for a window, knowing that it's next to impossible to get done for any club. And then when we don't do it, say, oh, I told you they're not serious, which I just know that that's what's going to happen anyway. If we get Eze and Sesko, it's going to be, oh, that's not good enough. Or it's not good, or, whatever, because we should have got Rodrygo as well. But, it is what it is. It's like, of course, what we did last summer was not good enough, but there is a world where Arsenal do get a striker and a left wing, and what we also have already done, and it's a good window. So, yeah. Just unanimously, our fan base prefers Gyökeres than Sesko. I actually disagree. I don't think it's unanimous, because if it was unanimous, I would be the only person that wants Sesko, and I know that that's not true. I think a certain section of the fan base wants Gyökeres, but there's also a large section of the fan base that would prefer Sesko. We know that because they've picked apart everything from the way that he heads the ball to the percentage of players that leave the Portuguese league and that those goals don't translate. So I actually think, a lot of people want both players. It's definitely split. Like AD is saying, like 60-40 or 55-45. I agree with AD. It's not unanimous at all. So yeah, there's even a Hugo Ekitike group now. Lord Jesus, if I even get into this shit. Let's go ahead and get into this, though, because I did want to talk about this. I was going to talk about this yesterday, but I was like, it's Sunday and I'm laying around with my dogs. So, but listen, Hugo Ekitike, let me explain. So Now, I want to caveat this with this could very well just be Arteta or not Arteta, Berta playing games, right? Letting RB Leipzig know that there is somebody else that they're willing to go get because the using Jokeris is not working as well now because his fee is not going down. So you can't leverage a smaller fee for Jokeris to get the fee down for Sesko without that fee actually being lower because Sporting keeps saying that they're not going to allow Jokeris go for anything less than 80 million. So we're having issues with that. This could just be a negotiation tactic. But what I will say is that I do agree with if now this isn't necessarily my evaluation or valuation or anything of the player. But if Arsenal do value Hugo Ekitike as a more expensive or more valuable player, then if they view Sesko as less valuable and they want to pay about 60 million for Sesko, if RB Leipzig don't come down to that 60 million or whatever, and it would take about 70 million, because it's like what 100, what is it, 80 million or something like that for 80 million euros for Ekitike, so like 70 million or something like that. So if they want to pay that 60 million for Sesko, but they value Ekitike higher, then if you're going to have to pay the same amount for both, then you go get the player that you think is better, right? That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, do I think Ekitike is this better player? That doesn't matter. But Arsenal done the valuation, and they view Ekitike as a better player than Sesko, or more valuable, or somebody that they'd be willing to pay a higher fee. So why would I spend more on Sesko when I think Ekitike is better and I'm gonna have to pay the same anyway, right? Now, with Ekitike, then people are saying, well, if you think Ekitike is the better player, why would you even be in for Sesko? And I feel like the reason why that is because if you value Sesko, if you think that Sesko, you could get him for 60 million, but you're gonna have to pay more for Ekitike, and you know that you have a certain budget, then you're gonna go for a player that you feel like you can work with, that's good enough, that you view as a future, top player, but you can get for cheaper. So you also have more money for something else. And I think that's the main reason why, even if they think Ekitike is a great player, they're more likely to go for Sesko or Jokeris first, that are a little bit cheaper, that fit a lot of their parameters, not perfect, but fit a lot of those parameters, and will still allow them to go out and spend money on different things. That to me makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Like, I'm like, that makes sense. And you could look at that and say, okay, that makes sense. I think that a lot of people feel like, well, if we have 80 million for Ekitike, then why don't we just spend that on Sesko? Because they don't value Sesko as that at that much. And as much as people don't like it, they want us to have this respect in the market. But they'll turn around and talk shit about Chelsea or Man United for overspending on players that they could have gotten for cheaper, or they should have got for cheaper. So why would you encourage your club to bend over to, RB Leipzig and give them 10 to 15 million more bucks for a player that they don't value at that fee? I don't think it's about Arsenal being cheap. It's them not valuing that player at more. And I feel like you gain respect in the market, not by bending over and overspending, because City don't even really overspend. They still get players at good valuations. They just buy a lot of players, and they buy a lot of good players. But this whole just, well, if you have 80 million, just give it. You don't give 80 million for the same play, like two different players, if you value one at 60 and one at 70. That doesn't make sense. So I think it's it's I think people just want the striker thing to be done, so they don't really care how it gets done. They just want it done. But the reality is your ownership is tight with money. They're not going to have an unlimited budget. So the budget is what it is, what it is, and what it is. So you can't just spend whatever. You can't spend an additional 15 million on Sesko. You can't spend an additional, whatever million on so and so. You need to be smart. And so Berta's being very strict with whatever valuation they have for Sesko. They know RB Leipzig need to sell, and they're willing to wait them and wear them out. And they're also willing to utilize other players around in the market to utilize the leverage, whether that's Gyökeres or Ekitike. Sesko's still the number one, and I think that's quite clear. But, knowing that, okay, well, if we're gonna have to pay this amount anyway, we'll just go get Ekitike. I think that's a decent play. It's just a matter of how long this takes. RB Leipzig are a good selling team. I think people forget that. They've sold lots of players for good money, and so they know what the fuck they're doing. So they're not just going to bend over, and neither should we. I think this whole spend whatever, pay whatever feels very disingenuous when you know that you want other things. So if Arsenal turn around and they can't get a third attacker because Arsenal fans were panicking, so they just gave an additional 15 million, you guys would be upset. So as long as they get him around the start of preseason, I think it's fine. But it's very Ekitike doesn't feel like somebody that we're actively going for, but I would not put it past Berta to pivot to him just to show people that he's not to be fucked with. Like, I don't think he's Edu. I don't think he's just going to play around the entire window and not get a striker because we wanted Sesko and we needed to get him and him only. I don't think Berta is willing to risk his first window at Arsenal being a loser, so I'm pretty sure we're 100% like we're going to get Sesko, but he's utilizing these other players as leverage. And I do think we're wearing RB Leipzig down. We just don't know what's going on because it's not being reported. We're not getting the emails back and forth. We're not getting the WhatsApp messages, but nobody has said that we've left talks. Nobody has said that talks are gone or done or we've offended them so much. It's just taking longer because you have Berta, who doesn't want to be, kind of effed over in the market, plus a really good selling side that's holding firm. So yeah, paying whatever is not how it works. Other clubs know you're weak in the market and bend you over, and what's next. There is a value. I agree. One timer says only makes sense if the players are quality. I'm in for Sesko and Gyökeres. Both would be a huge boost, but then we can't get Rodrygo, in my opinion. I don't think we need two strikers in this window. I feel, unless we had unlimited funds, I feel like potentially missing out on a left wing, a player of Rodrygo or Eze's level, to have two strikers that will not play at the same time we need most likely two starting level attackers and that play in different positions. Getting two strikers just for one to sit on the bench feels very wasteful when we know our left wing is dead. So it would be nice, but is it a priority to get two? No. And I'm not even a Kai fan, but off of the bench, he'll be fine. He'll score some goals. Ekitike wouldn't even fit the striker type that we need. We need a tank up front. I think Sesko is a better profile fit. I'll be honest. Do I think that we could make any one of Ekitike, Gyökeres, or Sesko work? Yes. But Sesko fits more, I feel like, what we need. Ekitike is a taller Jesus. And I think that's why a lot of Arsenal fans like him, because they miss 22-23 when, Jesus had a lot of flair and was opening up other teams and stuff like that. And I do think Ekitike has a lot of those same qualities and he looks better on the eye, but I want a number 9. Like, I want a tall, physical, good, like number 9 that strikes to the ball seriously. Like, that's what I want. I want a Lewandowski, Kane. If they have additional creative, abilities, that's fine. But at the bare crux of it, they are a number 9. I don't want somebody whose better qualities are how they look on the ball or, they're a great dribbler or they're a good facilitator. Those are secondary, in my opinion. So as much as people feel like, Sesko hasn't scored a lot of goals, I think Ekitike only scored 2 more than him, so I don't know. But Keenan says Ekitike looks insane for Frankfurt. Is it just he's in a slower league or has he actually improved? Feels like a huge gamble. No, I think he actually is really good. I just think that his better football came in a 2 with Marmoush when because the brunt of the scoring was not on his shoulders. The brunt of the scoring, was on Marmoush's shoulders, and he would help facilitate that with him, and it worked really well. And then about halfway through the season when Marmoush left, the goal scoring slowed down a little bit. Um, I don't think it's a mirage. I think Ekitike is really good. He's just not the type of striker that if we have to play, just feed that person, I don't think he's that striker. I think he's somebody that actually thrives in scenarios where he's feeding other people and like he's just a different, you know, he's a better like Jackson to me, like a taller Jesus, but Sesko has all the pieces of the puzzle to be more of like the traditional number 9 that I think we need. It's giving Gavardiel 2.0 transfer. You can't spend whatever. You can't spend like a thing. You can't spend like a Chelsea or a City. I mean, I would just say, like, a lot of Arsenal fans have a lot of smart shit to say about Man United and Chelsea, but would turn around and actually tell their club to just pay up any valuation for Sesko just to get it done. And I'm just like, they talk out of both sides of your mouth. Obviously, at a certain point, things need to move forward, meaning that we need to wrap the signing up. But you still have like 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, or something like that until preseason starts. There's no reason why, if you could get that fee down to closer to your valuation, you shouldn't do that. You absolutely should do that. Like, I don't really get it, but they just act like there's an unlimited wallet. There is no unlimited wallet. You know that. You know that. So yeah, Ekitike and Rodrygo would work really well. He likes to drift wide and Rodrygo likes to go central. They can combine, be dynamic and good movement. I would be really excited with them. How do you rate Chelsea's attack? I think it has a lot of depth, but no real world-class talent. They have a lot of bodies, and a lot of talented young players, but nobody that's like a world-class player, and when I'm saying that, outside of like Cole Palmer, is a number 10, so I'm talking Neto, Madueke, Delap, João Pedro now, Jackson. Who else do they have? They have somebody else, don't they? They have Estavo or whatever coming in, right? So I think that they have more depth and probably more quality than we do in our attack, to be honest. Gittins as well. Yeah, Gittins. But no world-class talent in there. So we really need to focus on quality over quantity, not get bogged down in the numbers and trying to make sure that we get like we need to make sure that every single one of those players are level raisers. If you get a Rodrygo and Saka shit on anything that they could possibly put on their wings. There's nothing that they could put on their wings that's anywhere near what we're doing. That's more of a comparable wing pairing to what City and Liverpool have. And that's what we should be looking at. Chelsea, but they have a lot of depth and a lot of they do have quality. It's just not world-class quality. And I think that's what we need to be focusing on. So yeah, they've spent quite a bit to end up with only a top 6 attack. That's what happens when you throw cash around. And like I said Chelsea's attack is better than ours, but that's not what we should be reaching for. I'm not trying to have an attack that's just better than Chelsea's, or I'm not trying to replicate their attack. I'm more concerned about getting world-class talent or close to elite level talent in that group. I'd rather have less than they do, but more quality than just having bodies. Because right now it's like, are we really jealous that they have Madueke? Are we really jealous that they have Pedro Neto? Probably not. If you had Rodrygo in your team and Sesko or Gyökeres or whatever, we wouldn't be worried about Chelsea's attack. But yeah, right now it has more quality because ours is really bad. Ours is really, really bad. Shamara says, facts, all it takes is 1 or 2 quality attackers for our attack to skyrocket. I agree with that. I don't feel like it's always a good idea to look at what other people, it's like when you're starving, anything looks good. And so I don't want to be disingenuous and say that I don't think it's better. Because our attack is really like subpar. It was like I said, I was being kind when I said it was top 6 last season of an attack, but you add a Rodrygo or, you know, a Rodrygo and a striker to this group, and I'm not really thinking about Gittins, you know, it's come on. Thoughts on that 25-man squad list: Raya, Kepa, Timber White, Saliba, Gabby, MLS Kala, Kiwi Mosquera, Tommy, Zuby, Norgard, Rice Odie, Marino, Ethan Eze, Rodrigo, Nelly Tross, Sesko, Kai, Saka, Jesus. It's a lot, isn't it? But I like that group. That it's like this the attack. I just can't I want to see what that looks like. You know, I really want to see what that looks like. Because if you add Rodrigo and Sesko, you're already feeling a lot better about your chances. But if you add also Eze, then I just don't see how anybody would be negative about what we've done. Um, you know, let's see. Ethan also, I think, is I don't want to say he's getting undermined. I would just say that I feel like people have cooled their excitement about him because he didn't play a lot at the end of the season and he had some off games. But I'm actually really excited to see. Um, I'm really excited to see how much better he gets this season. Um, to be honest, I just think he just has all the ability to become something special for us. So Ethan, to me, like last season was like a new signing. I think even this season, I have to count him almost like feeling like a new signing because if he goes up a level, that's like another new player for us. So yeah, but Ethan, like Eze, Rodrigo, Nelly Tross, I actually think one of them will leave, but Nelly Tross, Sesko Kai, Saka, Jesus, on paper, that looks really good. I want to see how they use Ethan at cam or right wing. Um, one positive thing is that the defense is most solid it has ever been. Saliba can rest in some games. He's played over 4,000 minutes for 2 seasons. No, I haven't missed your super chats. I'm gonna go back to them. Don't worry, I'll go back to them, I promise. But yeah, some of our players have been run into the ground. So it's really important that, you know, we make sure that we protect them this season. Let's go to some of Diallo's super chats. Diallo said, "Can other mods recommend me? I think I'm okay. I will add you as a mod for sure." Um, and I read this one out earlier. Jess's love for Keenan is like Kyra Cooney Cross for MLS. I read this one as well. And I do understand what you mean by that. And Hatch, we ain't feeling your energy, bro. Wrong time. It's just not the right time, is it? It just feels like, you know, we're talking about 2 completely separate things, but he's more than, you know, titled to his opinion. I think those are all the ones that I saw. Um, let's see. Can someone on in the staff please tell Mikkel to rotate more? Um, Yeah, let's get some rotating in, for sure. But I like that squad, and I don't really agree that with H that it's a very bad squad. This is also why, like, nobody, no offense to you, but like nobody really takes this rhetoric seriously, and why we can't have honest conversations with both sides coming together to be honest is because one side says we're the best thing since sliced bread and we're better than every team in the world. And then you have people on your side saying, that's a very bad squad. It's not a very bad squad. You could say that, you know, you want it improved in this way or we're missing this player or whatever. But saying that that's a very bad squad, it turns people's brains off and they stop listening to what you're saying because they just think you're being dishonest. That's not a very bad squad. It's a very good squad. Is it better than City's? Probably not, you know, but is it better than Chelsea's? I think so. And I don't know why Arsenal fans are so obsessed with Chelsea. I think they like that Chelsea spends a lot of money, you know, so they're obsessed with like they are obsessed with Chelsea even more than Liverpool, who, in my opinion, is who we should be trying to kind of like get to. The way that Arsenal fans kind of get on their knees for Chelsea is a little embarrassing, but whatever. But yeah, I don't think that that's a bad squad. I actually think it's a really good squad. That back line, you can't say anything bad about that squad in the back. Now, in terms of midfield, you have Rice, one of the best midfielders in the world. You have Odie, who's going to have a good season next season. You have Ethan, young talent. Eze, one of the best players outside of the top six. Like, what are you complaining about? I don't get it. You have Zubi, well sought after. If he went to Chelsea, maybe you'd like him, but he didn't. He came to us, so all of a sudden he's not good enough. It's just it blows the mind. Marino, who obviously is like one of the best players in the world, let's be honest, and Norgard, who is Georgie replacement, so that's really good as well. Because again, what was the problem with midfield last season? It was we didn't have enough X factor. Eze definitely adds X factor to that. Zubi is going to help our build up problems, or not really our build up, but our tempo issues, right? And the front line, that's really, really good in my opinion. So, but who is this Tommy? I've never seen him before. I've never seen a Tommy before. So you guys have to let me know who that is, because I don't know who that is. Let's see. Can Mosquera also play left back, making MLS as an option in midfield in some games? I don't think left back, but we have players that can play there. Remember, Calafiore plays there. So, of course he'll play there. Like not Mosquera, but Calafiore. Like Calafiore will play there. If Kiwi stays, then Kiwi can play there as well. So MLS can play in midfield. Tommy Ghost, Tomiyasu, a ghost. Tomiyasu. Perhaps he thinks the squad is bad under the manager. He is mixing his anger for the manager with the potential squad. And I just don't agree that these players are not good, because it's either the case that this team is bad and Mikel deserves more credit for being able to make a team that's really, really bad into title contenders, so much so that people expect them to win the league. He deserves more credit. Or this team is really good and maybe Arteta is underperforming a little bit, or they need a little bit of help. It can't be both. The manager can't be terrible and the players can also be terrible at the same time. That doesn't make sense. So that's why I'm saying these kind of arguments make it really hard to have these conversations, because it's all hyperbolic. It's just, of course, there's really good players in our team. Do we need better players as well? Absolutely. So yeah, Hold that says I'm Arteta's son. Tomiyasu is that urban legend or something. I mean, it's like I've never heard of him before. He's like a plus. Honestly, like to be honest, he's like a plus. If he shows up at all, yeah, if he shows up even at all, it's like, oh wow, he's here. That's great. But if he's not there, it shouldn't be a big problem, because we've backfilled the team enough where he's not like that needed. I feel like he should be like a Tierney in this team now, where it's like nice to have, but it's like if we don't, it's not like the end of the world. Mosquera and Calafiore partnership as a second option is decent. Mosquera is another player who Madrid wanted and we took. Our squad with Rodrygo, Sesko, and Eze will be arguably the best in the world. Can Arteta win majors with them? That remains to be seen. Would you say Tommy is like a new signing? Only if he can stay fit. Like, in theory, if both Jesus and Tommy stayed fit for an entire season, like, or at least played, let's say, 80% of it, those would be like new signings. Tomiyasu at one stage was like our best 1v1 defender. He's so useful to be able to play across the whole back line and is really good at it. He's also really athletic. He's good on the ball. He's a good player, so of course it'd be like a new signing, especially because he only had one season where I think he played like the whole thing. And that was like his first season. Jesus would also be like a new signing if he could stay fit. I just don't believe that he will, so yeah, we have such a good squad continuity from the last few years. We just need the correct few signings, a striker, winger, and Zubi is a great start. Tomiyasu is the ultimate squad player. Unfortunately, he had to be nerfed with injuries. 2977 is what we think we'll do to fill out the 25-man squad. Is that 2 goalkeepers, 9 defenders, 7 midfielders, and 7 attackers? Um, Fair, you know, that would be cool. Um, okay, H, you are really, on the edge here. This super chat is beyond controversial. It is mean, so I'm feeling like I want to block you now. So either play nice or you're gonna have to go. Like, I'm not trying to hear that shit. Like, that's not nice. Talking about people's moms and shit is just that's just nasty. In fact, like, I'm not gonna give you another chance. Like, come on, you gotta go. It's not okay. Like, what? What's happening, man? It was disgusting. It was weird. Like, what are you guys talking about? I cannot fathom sitting there on a beautiful summer day, getting on my computer and lifting a finger to go into a chat and say nasty things. Oh, and by the way, pay for it. What? Like, that's just crazy. What the fuck? Kwame says Tomiyasu isn't the same. He was really good at right back, but since he has been out, he isn't the same. I don't even know if I can say he's not the same because we haven't seen him in a million years. What do we know? Like, the last time Tommy played, he was really good. I remember, last time I remember him really playing was like against Lons, and he was really good, so I don't know if I feel like he's different because he didn't play right back anymore. He was playing like on the left. Is he different, or just have we not seen him in a long time? Actually, the last time I saw him play was on the final day of the season last season, right, against Everton, and he scored. Is he different? Because I haven't seen him enough to know that he's different. I would sell Jesus and Tommy as fast as possible. I'm also looking at, is a banana peel slip away from a career ender? I'm watching Kala very closely as well because we can't afford to hold on to him if he's not, able to maintain his fitness. If you get Mosquera and you don't go out and get a left back, you are putting a lot of pressure on Kala to stay fit. And because MLS is, your starter until otherwise. And then, of course, Kiwi can play there, but you'd prefer Kala to play there. He's the next man up, to play in that position. So it's going to be a requirement for him to stay fit. Of course, I expect him to get like an injury here or there, but the first season that he had is just not good enough, so he's going to have to stay fit. He's obviously a special player. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to have a player like that available for us, but if he can't maintain his fitness, he's gotta hit the road. There's no way that we can keep him around. But let's see. I don't want to, catastrophize it because I'm just saying if, maybe he'll stay fit. Is there anybody that we had that was injury prone the first season and then came back the next season and was great? Nelly left back mold, just asking. Lord. Unfortunately, I think Calo will be out for half the season. Miles will play most of the season. I still think Calafiori has a future with Arsenal, but he must improve. I'd love Tommy to stay fit. We'll have to see. Fingers crossed. I feel like what I would like, though, is I just don't feel like Kala and Kivior are in the mold of Ben and Timber, where they can kind of easily play that right back role without any kind of friction. I feel like they can run up and down the sideline a lot, and it doesn't take a toll on them, where I'm starting to feel like Kivior, Kala are more center backs by trade, like even more than Timber and White. So maybe they struggle with the physical side of going up and down the sideline, and that's why they get injuries. And maybe we should just make Kala into a left-sided center back and bring in a left back to make sure that it doesn't become a problem. But I agree with O'Malley. It's like how much of his special unicornness is taken away if he plays just center back. you know? Mild has to be transitioned to midfield. We need more legs in midfield. Current mids, we have lack physicality, in my opinion. We need runners. Do you gamble on Cala being fit next season? Do you take an offer to get your money back if one is on the table this summer? I feel like you need to give him another season. Let's see. Last time I saw Tommy play, he got spun so badly by Sane. No, that was Kivior. That was not Tommy. When? Is it? Wait, was in the return leg? Did Tommy get spun in the return leg? I don't even remember. I cannot remember a single thing that happened against Bayern on the away leg, except for Kimmich sitting up there and heading that ball in the back of the net. Is that not what happened? Because I do remember Kivior, he gave Sane a new lease on life. Everybody thought that Sane was washed, and he was, but Kivior, he got ripped one side up down the other. So, and then Tommy, he must have played the second leg, and that's where he got spun, right? And the only time that I've seen Kivior or Tommy look really bad as well was at home against City during the first title race when he first came back. I was like, "Feck, you look really bad." Gunner Life says, "Yeah, he got spun at one point. Kivior got passed by not Yasu. He got spun by Sane in the second half when Kivior was subbed off. Oh my gosh. Remember Kimmich running right past Martinelli for a free header? Yes. That's the only thing I remember from that game. I don't remember anything. You could tell me like a whole scenario of what happened and I would believe you because I don't remember. I'm like, "Oh, really? Like, I can't believe that happened." I remember the whole first leg, but none of the second. Not any of it. Nothing. I remember nothing from it except for Kimmich heading the ball in the back of the net. And that's also where the beginning of the needing a goal and not being able to push for one has started. That was already seeping in last season because I think Kimmich might have scored. Let me actually look it up. Arsenal. That bull scored in the 63rd minute. He scored in the 63rd minute, and we didn't look like scoring at all. That's one thing. It's like, it's hard for me to remember shit if I don't remember anything that we did. That's where that shit started then, where there was a little bit of it against Porto away from home, and then against Bayern, where that little bit of like, we need to push for a goal, but it's just not happening. Against Villa at home as well. That shit was creeping in last season, the season prior to last season. And I need that gone this coming season. I'm not trying to see somebody score one raggedy ass goal in, the 60th minute and we don't even look like scoring for the next 30 minutes. I'm not trying to see that. If I have to see that again, I'm not going to be a nice girl. That needs to change. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know how that happened, but we become like a team that cannot come back, and I don't get that. What pains me in that Bayern game is that we were ripping them for 20 minutes before the mistakes. Right. The one at home, we were cooked at home. Like, you should have never have left home without a lead. Are you kidding? At home without a lead? Come on. Like, against Bayern, and of course, like, they're a good team, but they weren't good then. They were struggling, and the Ben White miss started it. We should have been up 2-0, but even if we didn't get that goal, you're at home. Missing one chance should not the domino of events that happened after that should never have happened. Like, that was just complete Arsenal, just tomfoolery and buffoonery. Like, that's just ridiculous. Only Arsenal leave home against Bayern with no lead. Like, the fuck? That was crazy. Yeah, Bayern had no away fans. It was a disgrace. Like, you knew we were cooked then. We're not going to the Allianz Arena and scoring no damn goal. Are you joking? And we never look like it. That was yeah, that's all, so we need to take that away and start to be able to push for goals and take some more risk, because I can't remember a single time where we played like that and we actually won the game in the end. We usually end up dropping points. And I'm tired of being a team that would rather draw than push for a win. We drew a lot last season. Like I would have taken a couple more losses if we would have gotten a couple more wins, mentality problems are real at the club. I tell you, the amount of fullbacks we have is a lot. Timber, White, MLS, and Calafiori. The Sane goal looked like Socrates and Mustafi. Bayern had no away fans, exactly. So, yeah, it was just wild. It was just wild. And, the semifinal that we had against PSG, it wasn't quite that, but, not scoring at all at home, I feel like that's should never happen, to be honest. To a good side, I don't feel like they blank at home as much as we do. And that's why I feel like our attack needs a lot of work, because it's just like, how you blanking at home? You can't even force a goal. Come on, we really need to push it, so yeah, the counting on Tommy and Jesus is a sackable offense. I don't think we're counting on them really, Diallo, but they would be like a plus to whatever we're doing. I don't count them in this team next season. I'm not thinking about Jesus in there. When I'm thinking about the attack, I'm like, okay, let's say you add Rodrygo in there. You're gonna have Rodrygo, Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz, and a new striker, and then Saka, and then Ethan. I don't even think about Jesus. If Jesus is there, that's just a plus. It's not relying upon. I don't think the club is going to rely upon him either. Tommy, whenever you decide you want to show up, buddy, because as far as I'm concerned, you don't exist. You are Casper, as far as I know, so yeah. I never understood how Bayern got lucky with 2 goals. We need to sign Hato as a left back. Left back is a concern. Jess, I'm talking about Arteta. If he's counting on them, then he's lost the plot. Fair enough. Yeah, Jess, West Ham at home, dreadful. PSG wasn't even that bad. It's just there's some games that we go through and you actually know that we're not going to score. And that's a shame. We should never feel like that. We should always feel like we have a chance to score. So, yeah. But yeah, make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribing to the channel. This has been a crazy stream. Strange, the mod that I had to block, Keenan got blocked. The guy H, the technical difficulties at the beginning, mad stream, but fun nevertheless. I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time as well. So if anything happens, I'll come back on. But you can count on tomorrow. Hopefully we get some sort of real concrete something for anybody. Outside of Norgard, I want to get something for striker or something. So yeah, hopefully we get something. But on the way out, like and subscribe if you're new. Don't worry about the craziness on this stream. I would say that it's not always like this, but I have to say that our streams can be pretty crazy, but it's fine. Hopefully you enjoyed. But yeah, like, subscribe, have a really good rest of your day. Hopefully you guys are having a great Monday and everything is going well in your personal life. I hope that for you. But I love you guys to death, and I'll definitely see you guys on the next one. Diallo, I think I did read all of your super chats, so hopefully I didn't miss one, but I went through them one more time, and I do think I put them all up on the screen. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And thanks to H, but you're weird. But I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.